Decoding mixed signals. All right, let's dive right into the messy, unpredictable reality of counseling sessions. Picture this. You're a brand new counselor sitting across from a client, and they drop this exact line on you. I know drinking is a problem, but it's the only thing that helps me relax after work. And suddenly, you completely freeze. You know you just heard something really important in that sentence, but you've got absolutely no idea what to do with it in that exact moment. Your brain just kind of stalls out. Well, that physiological freeze happens for a reason. You're getting hit with conflicting signals at the exact same time, and it just overloads your processing. So the big question we're tackling in this explainer is exactly this. How do you effectively untangle those signals in real time? How do you train your ear to actually hear the change talk when it's buried right alongside the sustain talk? Let's figure out how to filter out that noise. Let's start our line-by-line analysis with that opening statement. The client is literally arguing both for staying the exact same, that's the sustain talk about relaxing after work, and for changing, the change talk where they openly admit it's a problem. And they're doing this in the exact same breath. Basically, they're handing you a tangled knot. To stop that freeze response from happening when you hear that knot, we really need an active listening filter. And the guide provides exactly that, with an in-session reference mini card. You can keep it visible on your clipboard or desk while you talk, serving as an anchor right when you feel lost. It gives you the raw materials to decode what the client is actually communicating just beneath the surface. Now, what's really cool here is how high-level psychological theory becomes utterly practical. This is your DARN, or DARN decoder. Instead of trying to memorize dense academic papers, you just listen for these specific phrasing structures to instantly translate when your client is dropping change talk hints. You listen for desire or need, like I want to, ability, I could, reasons, it worries me, or commitment, I decided. When you hear any of these, an alarm should totally go off in your head. Let's move into a line-by-line analysis of our conversation to see how this processing actually works in your head. Looking at the first half of the client's statement, the part about relaxing after work, your internal filter needs to instantly ask, is this darn? Does it show a desire or ability to change? Well, no. It's pure sustain talk. So your immediate response strategy is absolutely critical here. You must avoid arguing against this. If you try to convince them they don't actually need the drink to relax, they're just going to get defensive and argue for their drinking. Okay, now let's process the second half of that same breath. I know drinking is a problem. Boom, run it through the filter. This matches the reasons category of our DARN decoder. It's clear change talk. But your strategy here isn't to jump up and down and say, aha, you want to quit. Instead, your goal is to explore and clarify this ambivalence. You want to help them hear both sides clearly, but crucially, without resolving the ambivalence for them. And that brings us to the specific phase this client is operating in. When someone is in this deeply mixed state, they're in what the guide calls stage 2, contemplation. They see totally valid reasons to change and valid reasons to stay exactly the same. Because of this, the strategy library gives us a highly effective, tactical weapon to use right in this moment, the double-sided reflection. Let's look at exactly how to build one. The crucial point is getting the mechanics of this tool right so it feels natural, not robotic. Here's the step-by-step formula. Step 1, you use a neutral phrase like on one hand, and you reflect their sustain talk right back to them. Step 2, you pivot, saying it on the other hand, and reflect their change talk. And step 3, and guys, this is the absolute golden rule, you must always end on the change side. So let's see how this builds into a real response. It sounds exactly like this. On one hand, drinking helps you unwind after work. On the other hand, you've mentioned it's been affecting your relationship with your kids. You see, you can hold both of their realities at the exact same time. You aren't judging the sustain talk, and you aren't ignoring the change talk. You're just holding up a mirror, and because you ended on the change side, that's the thought left ringing in their ears. Navigating this contemplation stage is a delicate balancing act. While you want to reflect both sides and explore their core values, you have to actively avoid the urge to become their cheerleader. Just look at that last rule of engagement. Avoid over-celebrating small moments of change talk. If you push the change side too hard, human nature dictates that the client will instinctively pull back to balance the scales, and they'll start arguing to stay the same side. We want them making the argument for change, not us. Of course, out in the real world, this ambivalence isn't always neatly contained in a single sentence. As the supplementary guide on mixed states shows us, clients can be incredibly complex. Maybe they're in action with one substance, but in contemplation with another. The core focus here is to follow the client's readiness rather than forcing your own timeline or agenda onto the session. You have to meet them exactly where they are, not where you want them to be.
If you ever find yourself completely stuck trying to balance all these mixed signals, the guide offers a fantastic release valve. Just drop the pressure entirely. Stay curious, take a deep breath, and simply ask this question: what feels safest to talk about first? It hands the steering wheel right back to the client, lowers the anxiety in the room, and lets them show you where their readiness actually lies.
But hey, what if you still completely freeze? What if your mind goes blank and you just panic? Just fall back on your emergency checklist, pulled right off that mini card. First, reflect their last sentence back and ask one open question. Next, do not give advice yet. Just listen really closely for any hint of change talk. And finally, slow down. Silence is perfectly okay. You really don't have to fix their ambivalence in 5 seconds. Ultimately, what you should take away from this is that client ambivalence isn't a brick wall blocking your progress. It's actually a doorway. It proves they are actively wrestling with the idea of changing. And by using tools like the Darn Decoder and the double-sided reflection, you can navigate that doorway safely. So I'll leave you with this final thought. When your next client hands you that tangled knot of reasons to stay the same, mixed with reasons to change, which thread will you pull first?